Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Whitney. We'll go ahead and get started in just a moment. I'm just going to run through a couple housekeeping items before I hand it over to our wonderful presenters today, Tani and Desi. Real quickly, everyone's going to be muted on entry. So if you do have questions, feel free to put those in the question section of the webinar. You can also put those in the chat. We'll address all those at the end. Additionally, this is going to be recorded, so we'll be sending it out to everyone who registered. If you wanted to share this out to any of your colleagues, you are more than welcome to do that as well. And then there is a handout as well, so you can go ahead and download that if you're interested. It just gives you an overview of a lot we're going to be presenting on today. And then the very last thing is we'll be doing a poll at the end. We'd love your participation in that, so feel free to do that. And that is it for the housekeeping. So I will go ahead and hand it over to Tani and Desi.
Thank you, Whitney. My name is Tani DeGeorge. I am the product marketing manager for Sage Timeslips. And I'm so happy to be here this morning for this webinar. And I'm going to hand it off to Desi to introduce herself.
Hi, I am Desi Williams. I am the Sage Timeslips sales engineer. I will be running the presentation here today. Well, I'll be giving you the information for the presentation today, and our lovely Tani is going to go through the slide deck for us.
Yes, so let's get started.
All right, so diving right in, Tani, would you like for me to give a little bit of background information on why I feel like this kind of stuff is important?
I think that would be great, Desi. I think it would give a little context for everyone who's joined us today.
So I share a lot of times the fact that one of my very first jobs was working in a law office, and with working in the law office, I had to help keep track of a lot of time for 6 different individuals. Keeping track of that information, I don't want to date myself by letting you guys know that I kept track with index cards and a Rolodex. Everyone would put their information in on that index card, and they would put it on our Rolodex. And at the end of the month, I would collect all that time. And when I say all that time, some of it was not captured because they would lose it. Some people would place napkins in the Rolodex. Some people would place sticky notes. It was a horrifying mess at the end of the month, and it took about 2 weeks to get all that information gathered into one place and type it up and send that bill out. So it was a tedious task for my end of the month process, but we managed to get it done. And if they had proper time tracking methods, we would have been a lot more efficient. And with being more efficient, it increases your productivity. So it's very important when we are discussing why you should do that. It's because it's going to make you more productive. And eventually, if you're more productive, you're making more money. And that's what we all like.
Oh, that sounds stressful and inefficient, Desi. I'm glad you're not doing that anymore and that you're here with us. And more important, I love that you shared that story because I really think that it gives people context and understanding that this is more than just looking at a product for you. It's a solution for something that you've lived through yourself. So that's really a cool factor.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad I can share that and relive and get the goosebumps and same chills that I used to get every day. So now let's jump right into it. We want to talk about choosing the right tool. And this is going to be tips for determining what's best for your business. So first, we want to take a few things into consideration. You want to discuss with the right people. Do we want to do a desktop version or do you want to have a mobile version? So depending on the makeup of your office, if you have multiple offices, how important it is for you to keep track of time on the go, those are going to be some things that you're going to want to take into consideration when you're discussing what method is going to be best for you. The next thing is going to be usability. So how user-friendly is the solution that you've selected, as well as scalability. So when we're talking about scalability, we are not just talking about today I'm a solo firm and in 2 years I might have 5 individuals. So that is, of course, scaling, but what happens when that solo firm has different needs? So we don't only want to talk about scaling your business, you also want to talk about scaling your software. Do you need to start with one solution and move to another solution? Or is it best for you to make sure you start off with something robust that has the opportunity of growing with you? So those are definitely some things that you want to take into consideration when you're first determining the product that you're going to go with. Some other options you want to think about is, does it have multiple methods of time capture? Because let's be honest, everyone is not going to keep track and capture time the same way. And you want to make sure that you have multiple methods of capturing that time. Moving on, when you are capturing the time, it makes no sense in capturing it if you can't do invoicing and reporting for it. So you want to make sure whatever solution you select, if it's the right tool, it should be able to encompass all of these things that we have mentioned, and then get your invoicing completed so that you can send that out. Once you have the time, you want to invoice and report on it. All right. One of the greatest things that you're going to do is establish a procedure. This is going to be essential processes for creating consistent time tracking. It's going to be essential for accuracy and efficiency. And when you are getting started, you want to put certain things in place. You want to make sure that you're defining what activities, tasks, and expenses are going to be billable versus what options are going to be non-billable. So you may have certain fees that are going to be no charge. You want to make sure that you have an option inside of your system that allows for that capability. And when you are sitting down creating those tasks, you want to make sure that you're able to create a good personal workflow for the individual. Because when you're establishing these things from the beginning, it makes it easier to make sure you don't jump off the path with different processes. Get the procedure in place, get the database created, making sure that all those tasks, all those expenses are entered in, so that once you get started, it flows easily and efficiently.
I love that you brought that up, Desi, and I like how basically you said that different paths, everybody has their individual workflow, ways that we work best and more efficiently, but it has to lead to the same destination.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because what sense is it if it ends up in different spots? We all have to end up in the same location. All right, so the next thing that you want to keep in mind is automated time tracking features. This is going to be essential processes for creating consistent time tracking. Why is this important? Of course, it's going to reduce some risk. It's going to minimize the errors that you're going to see, and that's going to make sure that it's more accurate and efficient. When you're creating efficiency, these time tracking tools will automatically keep track of your time. So while you're working in the background, these are some things to consider. May want a tool that would allow you to keep track of things without you having to come in and stop and start timers. That way it's working with you, not against you. I don't know how great your memory is, but I know personally, my memory is not the same as it was 20 years ago. It's great to not have something else that I have to remember to do. So you want to make sure that you're getting certain features and functionalities in your solution that are geared towards making things easier for you.
I love anything that prompts me or does something for me. So my memory is just terrible too.
Yeah, absolutely. And automatic time tracking features just makes that a lot easier. The best policy is, of course, tracking in real time. And this is going to amplify your efficiency. So why is this important? Again, back to the memory. If you are tracking things in real time, you're going to remove the need to recall the billable task that you've worked on throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month. It's going to make sure that this information is captured most efficiently. For instance, let's say I'm on the go and I have at court, but I want to remember to keep this information. The best method is placing that information in when you are doing it. That way you don't have to recall what it is you did, how much time you spent on it. You can track something down to the minute just by being able to record it in real time. So that's going to be a very big deal for you when you're discussing the processes and procedure for tracking your time. And it also, of course, is going to ensure that all billable time is captured. If you are capturing it in real time, you're less likely to lose. Just like we discussed information going on napkins and post-it notes, when you're taking the time and entering that information in at that moment, you don't have to worry about losing it or not remembering it. Tawny, do you think that a lot of times people tend to miss time?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak for myself. If I'm writing things down, then I'm more efficient and I can go back and understand what exactly I've done and how I could make that a little bit more efficient or productive. And if I had that going in the background and doing it for me, then I would not be missing gaps of time.
No, absolutely. I mean, whenever it's always best to do things now. There's actually a book that I read years ago called The Power of Now, and it does speak to making sure that you're invested in what you're doing at that moment, what you're doing now.
It's interesting, though, to think that how many years ago did you read that and how much faster our world has gotten and how much more we all have to achieve within that 24-hour period of time now. Having that done automatically would be super helpful. But we just don't
Oh
have
yeah,
time to do things right now all the time.
absolutely. And one of the things with working in a law firm is if you're not putting the information in now, how much money are you leaving on the table? If you don't capture the time, then you're not going to capture the money.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's be honest with ourselves. If you're not going to capture it in real time, then we can move to setting reminders, and this is going to improve your accuracy. So why is this important? So as we just mentioned, it's going to improve your accuracy because this is going to help ensure that time entries are submitted on a regular basis and that you're capturing those billable hours. For instance, if you know that you're not going to have the ability of capturing that time as you're moving along throughout your day, you do want to at least set up a daily reminder. I personally have a reminder set for at the end of my day just to make sure that I've tracked certain tasks that I have to complete, and that kind of keeps you on track. So if you set a reminder for yourself, it can be daily, or if you're really good at it, it can be weekly, just to make sure that you've placed that information into the system if you know that you're not going to have the ability of tracking that in real time. And when you have those prompts, that's going to make sure that you have accurate invoicing. So if you get into the process of making sure that part of your habit is checking at the end of the day or having that reminder set so that you can review and look over things that you've done throughout the day, it's going to make sure that your billing is spot on. And of course, if your time tracking is spot on, your billing is spot on. And that's what's important at the end of the day. So another portion to take in mind is going to be reporting. This is getting insights to improve your business as a whole. Why is this important? Part of your process when you're tracking your time, of course, is the process itself is important. But once you have that time entered, what do you do with it? If you have proper reporting, you'll be able to take real snapshots of your business. You can get a good understanding of what's going on at any given moment. So for instance, depending on how much time you are entering or how many users are entering in time, you may want to run certain reports on a daily basis. And sometimes you're going to have reports that you're running on a monthly and sometimes weekly basis. Just depends on that information that you're trying to gather. But you want to make sure that once you have the time in the system, you're able to report on it. So another reason why that's going to be important, making sure that you have time tracking reporting, is it's going to show how much time is spent on each task, which tasks are taking longer than expected, and which tasks are going to be more profitable. So for instance, if you are putting in data and let's say you have certain tasks that should theoretically take you of someone about 15 to 20 minutes, but you discover that it's taking them hours. If you're not properly tracking your time, then you won't be able to run the reporting to see that there needs to be some changes or figuring out what's causing the inefficiency in your business.
It's a great coaching tool, then it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. Another note is when you know your profitability and you're making improvement, this is going to grow your business, even if you are billing on flat fees, because you should still track your time, even if you have flat fees, because that's going to help you discover your profitability and where you need to improve for growth.
Or hey, where you're doing great, give yourself a pat on the back.
Absolutely. Where that might even matriculate to bonuses.
Yeah, there you go.
So now that we've gone through the effective time tracking, certain things that are going to be important for effective time tracking for your business, because you want to maximize your billable hours to ensure accurate invoicing. So by choosing the right time tracking tool, establishing consistent time tracking procedures, using automated time tracking features, setting reminders, all the fun stuff that we've mentioned during this webinar, I want to discuss quickly what Sage has to offer. So when we're talking about accessibility and mobility, we have two options. We have an on-premise, that's going to be our Sage Timeslips Premium with eCenter. That's going to allow you to enter time in on your desktop, as well as if it combines with eCenter, which will give you a mobile option so you can enter time on the go. And that's going to be on anything that that's web accessible. You can enter in any time and expenses and capture it in real time. We also have a cloud native product. This is going to take the heart of Sage Timeslips, and it's Sage Timeslips Anywhere that will allow you to track your time and billing on a Chromium browser. Our robust reporting, as I spoke to you previously, you want to make sure that you have proper reporting in place. And with Timeslips, it does offer Timeslips Premium has over 140 different reports, and Timeslips Anywhere has over 100 reports. These reports are easily customizable, and one of the reports that I really find to be of great benefit is a fee analysis report. When I spoke previously about flat fees, even if you're tracking your time and you're billing with flat fees, this report will allow you to run it and at a glance get a quick overview of, are your flat fees profitable? So you will know how profitable those flat fees are. So you'll know if you need to increase that flat fee amount, and you'll also know the state of your business. The next item that Timeslips has to offer is a feature called Time Capture. Time Capture is going to run in the background. It will automatically track if you are in your emails, if you're creating documents in Word. It will move from one process to the next, turning those timers on and off for you, just allowing you to work while it does the tracking for you. The next option, you have custom dashboards. Custom dashboards are going to allow you to personalize and create an efficient workflow. And those dashboards from one machine to the other can be completely different. We take into consideration the fact that we know people do not work the same. So, one workflow may be more efficient for others, but we allow you to customize it and fit it right for you. We do have predefined editable activities based on your industry. So when you are creating a database, you don't have to start from scratch. So certain industries have certain tasks that are common. We already have those entered into the system. So then you don't have to enter them in yourself. And then if you need to customize them, of course, you have the ability of customizing each of those as well. And then lastly, multiple time entry options. It allows for you to create time in many different methods. We have features called Day View, we have timesheets, and they will allow you to create slips very quickly and efficiently, as well as the eCenter. When you're creating those slips on the eCenter, it will allow you to sync that data back into your on-premise solution. And once you have that information entered in, all roads lead back to the slip. So you don't have to worry about the way and the method that you're entering them in, because they're all going to return back to the slip and track the time in the best method for you.
That's fantastic, Desi. Thank you. If you have any questions, you'll find the question box in your dashboard.
I'll go ahead and launch the poll real quick just to get that going while people put their questions in.
And it does look like we have a question of, could I show a brief demo? So during this webinar, I wouldn't be able to go through an actual demo of the process, but if you would like, we can definitely reach out to you. I actually am the person who hosts all of our demonstrations, I would be happy to sit down and give you a demo one-on-one.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll down. It looks like 44% of you have voted, but it's been up for a minute. I had a question. So what are some of the biggest use cases as far as why people look for a time management solution like time slips?
Tracking your time, especially when you're anything that's going to be time-based, it's your money. So when you're considering, I probably need a solution, you know that you're not being as efficient as you need to be. So that's going to be normally your driving factor of why you need a time solution, because you need to track efficiently. Because whenever you're leaving money on the table, I actually had a conversation with an individual at our ABA Tech show where she says she's not 100% sure how much time she puts into her flat fees. And I'm like, well, how do you know that you're profitable? And that's a really big question, because if you're not tracking your time, or you don't have an efficient process for tracking your time, you're not making the money that you could be making. I hate to say that all roads lead back to money, but who cares about tracking your time if you're not going to get paid for it?
And this webinar is called Time is Money, so
Yeah.
that lines up right.
Absolutely. I can remember doing work, and everything that I did needed to be timed and needed to get billed. So you get into certain processes when you're thinking about your time, and all time, it has a fee.
So yeah, I know that we only have a couple minutes left. So if there aren't any more questions, then, there's one more that came in. It says, I assume this is for staff as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you would definitely want to keep track, all staff would want to keep track of their time, even if it's just tracking your overhead. You would definitely want to do that. So if, let's say for instance, you have a secretary who may not necessarily have billable time, but you do want to keep track of how much time she's using, you can place that information into the system as well.
If no one has any more questions, Desi, I want to thank you, and Whitney, your time is much appreciated, as is everyone's here on the call. We really appreciate you attending today. Hope you got something out of it. If we can help you, please follow up with us. There is contact information here. You'll all get this shared out with you after the webinar, and you will get to talk to the lovely Desi in person once again, which is all worth it. Go make some money.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.